evening and thank you for joining us. A public meeting is underway at this hour for residents of Oliver Papoonge to weigh in on the potential merger with the nearby township of Conmee. A former Oliver Papoonge councillor is speaking out against the move, believing it will increase taxes in the community. But the mayor says it's too early in that process to know that. Ryan Benazzo has more.
As Oliver Papoonge residents visit the Murillo Community Center to voice their opinion on a possible merger with nearby Conmee, former councillor Rick Potter insists such a move will come at the expense of Oliver Papoonge taxpayers.
There's not one person in Oliver Papoonge who's going to benefit from this. All that's going to happen is our taxes are going to go sky high.
The two municipalities have commissioned Grant Thornton to review the finances and to collect feedback from the public. Oliver Papoonge Mayor Lucy Kloosterhuis notes it's early in the process and resident concerns will be taken into consideration before council makes any decisions on the merger.
We're investigating this. Not any one of us have all the answers.
Grant Thornton's report and executive summary will be made available to the public later this month, but Potter notes the merger has yet to be discussed in an open session of council, and he accuses leadership of working in secret to this point.
They refuse to answer any questions. The question I would ask to Mayor Kloosterhuis and councils, why are you doing this?
I have seen this coming for a long time.
Kloosterhuis says merger discussions have taken place in small rural municipalities for years, as the province has heaped more and more regulatory requirements onto their plate.
There's so many policies and procedures coming through the door for the same for a small rural community as a mid-sized community, as an urban community. You just cannot find enough time and people and staff to do them when you're a very small community if you only have one or two people in the office.
Conmee Mayor Kevin Holland says the merger won't go ahead unless it benefits both communities. Still, Potter wants area voters to make the decision directly.
I'm asking for a plebiscite. I'm asking for, if it's that strong an issue, delay it. Run your next election on this and see if you get reelected.
Another public information session will be held at the Conmee Community Center on Thursday afternoon. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
For the third time this year, Ontario Northland is expanding here in the Northwest. Starting Labor Day, several communities along the Highway 11 corridor west of Chappaqua will receive inter-community bus service. The announcement was made by Northern Development Minister Greg Rickford in Fort Frances yesterday. Adam Riley has details.
Earlier this year, buses began to roll once again along Highway 17 across the Northwest, when Minister Greg Rickford announced that Ontario Northland would fill the gap left by Greyhound when it shut down its operations in 2018.
About 6 weeks ago, there's a certain mayor who said to me, well, that's all fine and dandy, but when is it coming out our parts? And I said, well, just give me a little bit more time.
On Tuesday, Rickford made good on that promise as an Ontario Northland bus rolled into Fort Frances. Starting Monday, ONTC will begin servicing Atikokan, Couchiching First Nation, Fort Frances, Devlin, Emo, and Sioux Narrows Nestor Falls. The area has been limited in its transportation options since Caribou Coach ceased operations in 2017, leaving Casper Transportation, which resumed its Fort Frances route in July, as the only provider.
I've been doing a happy dance for the last day and a half.
Fort Frances Mayor June Call says they have been advocating for a regional transportation for some time now, and is not only happy to see the service return, but she was amazed by the quality of the buses themselves, which include both Wi-Fi and wheelchair accessibility.
It reminds you of sitting on an airplane with the air vents, seat belts, comfortable seats, a tray and a place to put your cup, and a bathroom that anybody would be happy to have to use if they needed to.
Couchiching Chief Brian Parole says First Nations are a key part of the region, and being recognized with an actual stop on the route will give members of his community more of an advantage.
A lot of our people don't have vehicles. So this, the bus service that used to be here years ago, I mean, people depended on that, and now it's coming back.
Rickford acknowledges that some communities along the west end of Highway 11, including Lake of the Woods Township, Morley, Stanley, and Rainy River, are not on the route, but he believes this could provide opportunities for private operators to expand. He's also excited to see the opportunities this could bring for students in the region.
I know we're still in COVID, but the college and university students that are going to be able to get on a great bus and do their homework or study online while they travel to Thunder Bay and or Winnipeg or to places beyond. This puts us and connects us with the rest of the province and the rest of Northern Ontario. Obviously, this was about time, and I'm just thrilled that it came to fruition.
Adam Riley, TBT News.
Ontario's rate of COVID-19 infection is on the rise among school-aged children, and there's growing fear that number may rise even higher once they return to the classroom. The NDP is now calling on the Ombudsman to take a look at the Ford government's back-to-school plan. Colin DeMello has more.
Feeling great.
Okay, good. You feeling okay to attend school?
As Premier Doug Ford prepares for students to return to school, one of his top concerns is the number of children infected by COVID-19.
The first numbers I want when I get briefed in the morning, how many kids under 19?
During the month of August, there were 552 children 19 and under who tested positive for the virus. Data provided by Public Health Ontario breaks down the final week of August. 108 children and teenagers between 11 and 19 tested positive. That includes those of university age. During that same time, however, 47 children between the ages of 0 and 10 tested positive. All of them would have been in an elementary school. Those who study the COVID-19 numbers say if those infection rates continue, it could have a significant impact.
I will be shocked if we don't see at least one cohort in Ontario sent home in the very first week. And then I think once the cases start to uptick from there, we're going to see many other classroom cohorts sent home when that happens.
The Premier says the numbers are of concern, but downplayed the significance.
And I don't want to scare parents because there's 2 million kids. 2 days ago it was 19 that had ended up with COVID. The other day 20. It's back up to 20, so it's about 20. But to put it into perspective, 2 million kids, there's 20.
Still, if 20 students are testing positive daily, there are concerns about how many other students could be impacted if cohorts are sent home, which is why some have been calling for smaller class sizes.
The larger that cohort or class is, the more chance there's going to be of also infecting other children and those children then taking it to their families. And you just have to do the math and know that we have a faster spread.
School boards say if a student tests positive, local public health units would help determine the next steps, including whether cohorts would even need to be sent home and whether the school would close. But boards are trying to reassure parents that their children will make a fast transition into online learning.
We should be able to flip the switch to that remote learning for that cohort relatively quickly. I would assume within a day or two.
So even with the possibility of daily infections, the Premier says the province is prepared to pivot.
Meanwhile, school board directors and health officials from all corners of Northern Ontario say they're standing united to deliver COVID-safe schools. A joint media release was issued late this afternoon aimed at those who are worried about schools reopening. The statement contains the names of all 7 health unit leaders and the 24 school board directors in the north. They say after 6 months without school, everyone is feeling a mix of relief, fear, pride, worry, and excitement. They say they're all working tirelessly and are determined to protect students and the school communities. The statement includes a top 10 list for keeping schools safe, including a recommitment to COVID prevention, staying home if you have symptoms, staying informed, and practicing kindness and patience. Most area schools are scheduled to open Tuesday. And the Mattawa Education is starting its school year tomorrow. The school serves First Nation students who leave their communities to attend school in Thunder Bay. Troy Charles spoke to the school's principal today to get an idea on just how different the 2020 school year will look.
With Mattawa Education Center's doors set to open, First Nation students from across the 9 Mattawa communities are still arriving in the city, albeit much fewer than usual. Mattawa has about 150 students, but they're only expecting roughly 70 of those to make their way to Thunder Bay. And due to lack of viable internet connection, some students remaining in their communities will be talking to their teachers on a landline and getting their lessons through a fax machine. Principal Brad Battiston says it's certainly not ideal, but they're trying to make it work.
With our students, some live in town and we'll be doing homeschooling with them as well. So we are covered for every scenario in offering the services, whatever the student and the family are comfortable with in proceeding. Now, again, not all of it's as effective as, you know, each method varies in its effectiveness or success, but somehow, some way we are getting that support to our students.
Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School has opted to remain strictly online for now and is not expected to open for in-person classes until October 28th. Here's what Battiston had to say about Matawa's decision and why their situation differs.
This was the decision for us to operate the way we are was, came from our leadership, came from the community level, and for us, we have enough PPE, supplies to open. And because we don't operate in the traditional school sense of credit delivery or course delivery, we have that flexibility in programming to accommodate the different needs.
As seen here, all classrooms have been adjusted for safe social distancing. All staff and students who will be using the school building will be required to wear masks, as Matawa has been working closely with the district health unit and will be following all health and safety protocols put forth by the Ministry of Education. Troy Charles, TBT News.
A 22-year-old woman is facing a stunt driving charge after Thunder Bay police clocked a vehicle traveling nearly 70 kilometers over the speed limit. Officers spotted the speeding car along Dawson Road near Sherwood Drive just before 2:30 yesterday afternoon. Police say the vehicle was traveling at 119 kilometers an hour in a 50K zone. The woman was pulled over and handed some hefty penalties. She's been issued a 7-day roadside suspension and her vehicle has been impounded. T-Baytel has donated 100 bags full of school supplies to the public and Catholic school boards in the city. The initiative is a part of the T-Baytel for Good community support program. The Lakehead Board and Catholic Board each received 50 backpacks filled with school supplies and are meant for students who may need a bit of extra help come September 8th. The bag includes pencils, crayons, scissors, notebooks, as well as a mask and a mini bottle of hand sanitizer. The Good Employees program is part of T-Baytel for Good, where staff from the company look to give back in a meaningful way. Lakehead Board Superintendent A.J. Keene says the donation means a little more now than in past years.
Means more than any other year where these kind of donations come in is it means some normalcy. Kids have not had normalcy in schools for 6 months or more, and to be able to walk into school and sit at a desk and open up a bag full of school supplies is a pretty big deal.
Community and giving back to our neighborhood is a really important part. This is one of the ways in which we're able to do that. It's just such a great way for us to connect with community, to connect with neighborhood, to connect with organizations like the school board.
T-Baytel's marketing communications team were awarded a $1,000 budget from the company to purchase the supplies for students.
Very cool story. One of the first things you need, you got to